And so it was interesting. There was a point you said about you were working on your weaknesses. So you were saying that painting was one of your weaknesses, but yet it seems to not be, because obviously people are loving what you're doing. So I'm curious, why did you think that was a weakness?
Back then, I didn't exactly know how to use an airbrush. I didn't even understand. Like, I had gone through school and I learned how to use actual proper automotive paint and how to use it right. I had never used an airbrush before. I had never really tried doing art on cars.
Right.
So
sorry.
it was a whole step. I buy these aluminum sheets that they put on trailers, and I'd have the metal shop cut them into painting size. So basically, I was preparing to start painting on cars. So
That's
it started
crazy.
out real small, and then I could do a lot of graphics. And if I could do a lot of detail in a small area, then when I go bigger on a car, it just becomes easier.
So you thought, in a sense, well, I've done a little bit, but not enough. So I'm going to dive into this, get better at the craft, and then turn it into something even better for a proper vehicle as such. That's cool. I mean, to me, I wouldn't have classed it as a weakness for you. I think it's just like you've got something that you just want to apply more of your time to. And look what you're doing now. It's incredible. The amount of skills you have, it's crazy. And it's only by practicing over time that you just, I mean, the helmet you're working on right now, you've been showing me is awesome. What I've seen so far, it looks amazing. Can't wait till it's done. So you've definitely improved on that skill big time.
Oh yeah, well, and that's where I always love to work on my weaknesses, because I like to think that I'm strong in the automotive. Now, if you ask me to change an outlet, I'm the dumbest guy on the planet. Or something out of the automotive field, I'm pretty stupid. Like, you start running a chainsaw and cutting up wood, I'm going to stand in the back and, watch what's going on. I'm not going to dive right in.
Sure.
It's like, and that's where I like to be in the automotive world. I want to be the expert as much as I can be in as many fields as I can in the automotive realm, so that way I can help others later on, because others may only be interested in this or this or this. Because eventually, the way my company's set up, I want to be able to train these guys to be able to be free and to build cars they have in their brains. Because who am I to know if I have one of the next Ed Big Daddy Roths working with me? You know what I mean? And if I can give those people the tools and the knowledge they need to accomplish what they can see in their head, and to me, it's like, that's why I like doing collaborations like that Bronco I did, with that mountain scene on.
Yes.
If you look at the bodywork on there, it's almost like a sculpture, that whole vehicle. Because the front fenders are actually the rear fenders, and then welding the roof on, and then the tailgate, you can't even tell I paneled it over, because it looks so natural. And then I actually put the Ford emblems on the inside. But then when it came to doing the art on the outside, I went and found one of the best oil painters I've ever seen in my life, to actually help me with the art.
That's
The cool
cool.
thing is the build on that car has a really interesting story. Where my company took the next level jump was because my best friend killed himself.
All right, to see. Okay.
Daniel committed suicide, and I was working out of a small shop myself, and I got really sad, and I actually attempted to kill myself and was stopped by a friend.
Yep.
So from that moment on, everybody was treating me with kit gloves, and I ended up going to a buddy of mine on a motorcycle. My wife was deployed at the time. So a friend of mine took me on a motorcycle ride. I had started selling shit because I was hitting that depression mark. Was just selling everything. Sold my hearse, sold my four-wheeler, just going to get rid of everything.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine took me on a motorcycle ride, and we went to this car show down in, I think it was down in Nevada, Jackpot, I think. And as I was at this car show, I saw this, we pulled in. One of the first things I saw was this clamping company at the end of the row, and I heard this voice in my head. It said, "You need to tell them you're going to SEMA with them." I was like, oh shit, now I'm hearing fucking voices. So I'm thinking I'm losing my fucking mind. I end up going up and looking at the clamps, and they were really neat. They were really cool, but it was like the latest mousetrap. I'm trying to break it. Couldn't fuck their clamp up. Like, it was a radiator clamp that literally just folds over. TKO Clamping Systems is the name of the company. They've actually succeeded way beyond where I dreamed, but they never even imagined they could go to SEMA. But that's part of a later story, or later on in this story. But like, I left, I was pissed, Then I noticed one of my friends got their clamps put on their car from that company. And I saw them, and I'm like, I'm going to go check it out. I want to go see if I can get these things to knock loose, you know, because they're radiator clamps. And there's no tightening feature to them. You're just going to clamp them over. I was like, yeah, whatever. And I ended up, couldn't bust it on his car. I almost broke his radiator because I got some big arms. And I'm just wrenching on that thing, couldn't get it off. And in my head, as soon as I realized I couldn't get it off, I had this voice in my head again tell me, you need to tell him you're going to SEMA with them. And I'm like, I'm losing my goddamn mind, you know?
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm hanging out with the pinup girls because there's a pinup contest. And they had me as one of the judges because I knew a lot of people at the car show. So I'm doing my judge duties. And I ended up looking back over and noticed that clamping company again. And I heard that voice for the third time in my head. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to go say this to him. You know, let's just see what fucking happens. I've got nothing else. Let's see what happens. And mind you, I had sold a bunch of my tools. Like I had closed my 10,000 square foot shop, sold my tools. I sold everything. I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I don't know what I'm doing now. You know, didn't think I had any worth. And I was closing the company. I didn't care. You know, went up and talked to him and I walked up and he's like, man, I've seen you up here like 3-4 times now. He goes, you really interested in these clamps? I was like, yeah, they're pretty neat. You know, I got to tell you something. He's like, what's that? I was like, I'm supposed to tell you I'm going to SEMA with you. He goes, who told you that? You know, and I'm like, I hearing a voice, maybe a guy upstairs. I don't know. And he goes, you want to hear something funny? I was like, what's that? He goes, the guy upstairs, the guy that gave me the design for this clamp. He goes, you let me know what he has planned. And he gave me his card and he put his personal cell number on there. And he's like, he asked me another question. He goes, where are you building at? I was like, don't have a shop. He goes, what do you mean? What build are you doing? I was like, don't have a build. He's like, well, you definitely let me know what he has planned, but let me know. On the ride home, I basically the plan started coming together in my head. I was like, I know a guy that has a Bronco, doesn't have a budget, has a big shop. He'll let me steal space, you know, and I'll do it for free if I can get my foot in the door to SEMA. So I was just like, and I told him that, and TKO was like, hell yeah. So I made this cool intake. We, you know, put the cool motor in. I started going crazy on the metal fab because I was like, this is my chance to show the world. Because TKO was like, we'll take you to SEMA if you get this vehicle done. Awesome. You know, and that was the beginning of the upward rocket.
That's awesome. I think it's an amazing story that you're actually sharing that voice in your head. And I think there's nothing wrong with that because you know what? You know, I'm quite spiritually connected. And I do believe sometimes we do have that connection somehow that someone is saying, hey, you should do this. Or you get that gut feeling that maybe I should walk this way instead of that way and something happens good or you have avoided something. And I believe that a lot. So anyone who's listening to that, I'm pretty sure they'll probably go, Jess, do you know what? I have those things. But I don't say it to people because they think I'm nuts. Like, I have a tattoo on my face, which it was actually a dream I had. And it was so profound. I don't realize, like, really, why is this so profound that I should have one on my face? And eventually I had one done. And to this day, it's been one of the most positive experiences I've ever had from having it to meeting people and having amazing conversations and leading to amazing things. So had I not done, it wouldn't have happened. So for you to follow that eventually after 3 times and saying, hey, you're going to listen to me, bitch? You're going to go and talk to this guy. And incredible. It's like sometimes I think we do have some forces that we don't see. I mean, I know people call it like guardian angels, if that's what you want to call them, but I do believe in that stuff. I do believe that we do have them. They're there. Even people who have been in our lives who may not be here anymore, who's still there in a way, is saying, hey, you should listen, you should, you know, follow your instincts. And I think that's powerful because you wouldn't have never got to see a show. And then which leads to, I guess then, if that was the first build, in a sense, was that then after you decided after SEMA, I'm going to open up the shop again? Is that what kind of kicked?
We reopened the shop inside of his shop.
Awesome.
So we were still Son of a Fink Customs underneath inside of his building. It was pretty funny because I hung my banner up on the wall and I was like, this is ours. Just took over some territory in his shop, and it was a lot of fun because he does auto repair. So we just kind of stole the back corner